Man, when they made the zombie DLC, this isn't what I was expecting. Ah! I hope you're ready for battle, because we are going to Tabs, totally accurate battle simulator. Now, I do want to note real quick on this, I have not tested any online. I do not own Switch Online player that, so I have no intention of talking about multiplayer or its multiplayer performance other than local content. Which there is local versus content, so that does exist. But there is a multiplayer and a workshop option for custom content and versus online, and I don't have the means to test it, so we won't be talking about that. So, in the offline sense, and of course the physical sense, because this is, of course, a physical copy from Super Whale Games, so as it is like 99% usually most my views with the occasional thing that might be digital, like Higawashi was. But anyway, so totally accurate battle simulator Tabs is a battle sim. It has no actual real story, but it does offer campaign maps in an offline sense, in a sandbox option, in a map creator mode. Now this is only available physically on the Switch. It is on PSN though, so nobody has done a physical version of that. So in performance, I don't know if they're very similar or not. As we know, some Switch versions can sometimes be more lacking and other times can be incredibly impressive. So I will say totally accurate. I'm just going to say Tabs. Okay, Tabs is not in the most greatest health on Switch. It is playable and beatable. You can finish the offline content in that, but you will have several things that will be annoying. But we'll get into those as we go on. So let's get into the gist of it. If you do sandbox mode, you'll have everything that's normally available aside from things you have to unlock in the campaign mode. When you play campaign mode, you can explore the map and unlock additional unique units that you can get access to both in sandbox and in campaign mode if it allows you to buy secret units on that particular map. Sometimes it will not let you, so it kind of depends on the rule structure of each map. So sandbox is likely very self-explanatory, but if not, it's where you can have a one-on-one versus between friends, or you can make your own battle simulations. It can all work with one controller, so you can make your own situations, you can verse a friend, you can set up the rules, you can do what you want. Campaign, though, if you're going to be like me and not have online capability, you will go through a campaign. Now, there are two campaigns that aren't available in the Switch version. From what I understand, the things that aren't in the Switch version also apply to the PS4, but I'm not 100% sure. I can't find a lot of info on that. The wiki page only says Switch and not console, so it could potentially just be a Switch only thing, but I've seen a few posts when looking up that seem to confirm that's also PS4, so I'm not entirely sure on that. I couldn't find a lot of information on that. Hell, most people don't even know these are on console. When I was live streaming this, almost everyone was like, "Wait, this is on a console? This is on Switch?" Which, to be fair, I mean, considering the kind of game it is, it does seem like a bit odd for a console. But it does function for the most part. So, on the Switch version, or possibly the console version, I'm just going to say Switch because on the wiki it does only state the Switch. But it could be that maybe it wasn't updated with PS4, I don't know. Just keep that in mind. Anyway, there are not 4, not 8, but there are 10 campaigns on the Switch version, with 2 of them that are available on PC that aren't in this. And 2 of those campaigns you need to unlock through exploring the maps, while all the other 8 unlock by just beating the previous challenges. Each one has a varying number of maps to go through. Some are more than less. So it kind of depends, because some of them have quite a few, some of them more, not as many. But essentially, as you go through the campaigns, you'll basically be pitted against one of the different kind of factions, and then you'll start taking over that faction and be put against all the other factions. So you'll kind of test it against a faction, and then you're forced to use that faction against all the other factions and learn the ins and outs and how to overcome the different units of each faction. Now, each faction are varying ages, you know, like cavemen, Renaissance, and such. So you'll have a lot of different units: defensive, attack, and some are really bizarre. Like there's like a old style one that's a scarecrow that shoots out crows. So this is a very janky body physics all over the place game. This is not a serious game by any means, but it can be lots of fun when it wants to work. So, I did have a good amount of fun. There is no actual real story or lore going on in this game. It is just batshit silly shit. And it gets sillier as you unlock more secret units and get more access to other factions and things. Now, on top of the 2 campaigns that don't exist in this version, there is also the Super Peasant Witch, Peasant Elf, and Sensei that are not in, as the wiki lists, not in the Switch release. Again, it does not state anything about the PS4 version, so I don't know if that applies to that or not. Again, I couldn't find a lot of stuff on the separation of all the versions like that, so. Now, it does have multiplayer in the workshop, like I said, so there is online content if you happen to have an account with online. But as I said, I don't, so I'm not going to be commenting on that. But as a offline experience, it does offer a decent amount of content. Now, the game being a very physics-based game with a lot of body throwing around and flaring around, there is, of course, the jankiness and crashing. Sadly, through my experience of this game, the game crashed several times, quite frequently throughout the game, especially in the later half as more complicatedly weird units came in. And it seemed like, based on that, sometimes it would crash. And it obviously sucked when that happened. I didn't really lose much progress when that happened, because it would be basically usually the start of a match. So the game auto-saves after each successful map, so losing progress is not very common. Another annoyance with the game, however, is its constant need to want to connect with the online servers. When you boot the game, when you go back to the main menu from fucking anything, the game will do a thing saying it couldn't connect to the internet. And this, I don't know why this is fucking here unless you select multiplayer. Like, when you select multiplayer, I understand for it to pop up, but why every time you go to the main menu it has to do that, I don't know. It is very annoying for a game that actually has offline content and the ability to play that content offline. I do not know, but it is ungodfully annoying on the Switch. And with, of course, there being performance issues, there are moments of lag and janky movement among the map when moving about. And you can also possess a unit. You don't have to simply just watch the outcome of the fight. You can possess one of your units and take control of them and also interact with combat, which, of course, with jankiness and screen tearing and lag and that, can involve more complications on that front. The game functions, but you're going to have several annoying elements that are going to bother you. You do have a decent amount of settings to actually mess with your units and how the gameplay works. So you do have more than just simply language and audio settings in the game. So for a console port of the game, it does give you some options, which is good. We should always see more options. Now, of course, if you have online, and assuming, again, I haven't tested online because I don't have an online count on the Switch, but assuming matches work decently, you'll have lots of multiplayer fun as well. So that's added playability. And of course, like I said, there is a local sandbox where you can go up against your own friends locally. Or I guess you could even be creative and maybe set up crazy Twitch matches with your Twitch viewers or something. Perhaps. With all that said, we're grading this in a offline capacity of single player sense or local play. So, what would I give the Switch version in its value in that regard? I would give Totally Accurate Battle Simulator, I would give it $15 value. There's fun here and that, but it's a bit of a janky experience on the Switch. Now, the game goes for $19.99 digitally on all platforms, and Super Whale Games sold it for $38.93 in US dollars. So, yeah, they added a bit to the price of the game compared to its digital version. Honestly, I think the physical version probably would have been better at a $29.90. Like, I feel like Super Whale Games is doing a kind of a similar thing with limited one games where they're slowly hiking up the prices of their games more and more, and it is a little bit annoying with certain titles, as some titles don't feel like they're getting overpriced. Now, on the upside, Super Whale Games has been doing compilation things, which is of course actually really nice to see, because like I said, that's almost a never with limited one games. So I don't feel like it's as awful, but like I do feel like the prices are getting up there themselves too, and I don't feel like this was a game that deserved a really high price. And the problem is, like, they apply the price to like all their releases. Like right now, like all their latest releases have been $38.93. They don't really seem to separate them or base them differently on the game itself, so that's kind of weird. Like, if you go to a lot of the older releases, they used to all be $32.44. So as you can see, they've continuously added to the price of the game, and it seems like the weight is the same all the time. So I'm not necessarily in agreement that each game just needs to be the exact same price. Like, that feels kind of blah to me. But yeah, Totally Accurate Battle Simulator isn't an awful game, but it isn't like, you know, if you want a story, there's no real story. So in that aspect, the game's always probably lesser value to you. For multiplayer, though, I could see having lots of fun with the game and that. But like I said, at least the Switch version has problems. It's playable in the offline capacity, but it definitely has issues that I would hope are addressed, updated, but onto the physical build. But, you know, if you're going to play multiplayer and the update actually makes it more stable, I guess that's not the worst case scenario, because I mean, you're not going to be able to use the multiplayer much offline, because sandbox mode I imagine is just a very simple thing where there's a lot more probably options in the multiplayer online, I imagine, at least. Anyway, though, Totally Accurate Battle Simulator isn't an awful game by any means, but it is probably something I would label more as a time waster unless you're playing it with friends or some kind of funny gimmick with it. It's a funny, silly game. You can get some laughs out of it. Now, of course, as I said, this is a physical version. And you want that physical version, it's been long sold out from Super Whale Games. Now, it, unlike the previous review, has gone up in price. Loose, it's going for $57, complete, cribbed, $70, and sealed $97 fucking dollars. So, yeah, whip on that. The game, as far as I could tell, there isn't a DRM free option on PC, so as far as I can tell, it's only on Steam. So yeah, bit of a shame on that front. I can recommend the game if you want some multiplayer fun, some janky, silly stuff to do with people. Like when my sister's kids were visiting 2 trips ago, I actually pulled this out, and I figured it'd be some fun. We all had a lot of fun with it, which is hence why I went into doing it as one of my stream games shortly after that. Because I was like, oh, that was actually not too bad. It might be a nice Monday game. It's not a big story focused game of that, so we did it for one of our Monday shorty streams for about 2 months, I think. So, but yeah, that's pretty much all I have to really say about Totally Accurate Battle Simulator. It has a little bit of jank in it. Some of the jank is hilarious. Some of the jank is annoying. It's a bit of a mixed game, so I do feel like for the Switch version, it's pretty overpriced in my opinion, personally. But you know, $20 for a download isn't too bad. That's not a horrible price. But yeah, I don't know the performance on PS4. I would hope it's better, but that's not necessarily a guarantee either. So you might want to be cautious if you look into the PS4 version. What version is best to get? I mean, that kind of depends on what you want. Obviously, if you want a version that you get to keep and work offline, like probably the Switch version is what you would like to get if you could actually get it for a somewhat sane price. Because in the condition that the game is in, I don't feel any of those prices are worth it. This should have been on a more cheaper end, personally, when it comes to that sense. Maybe one day someone will look into doing the PS4 version or something, maybe. Who knows? Or maybe they'll get a newer version on PS5 or something. Again, who knows? But anyway, those are my thoughts on Totally Accurate Battle Simulator. And with that, hopefully you learned something interesting, and if you did, I would appreciate if you left a like, and if you felt like you learned nothing at all, feel free to leave a dislike guilt-free, and until next time, be careful on the battlefield, where there are gods, monsters, myths, and everything. Oh, wait a minute, you know, what if they made Totally Accurate Persona Simulator? Oh my goodness. What an idea. Till next time, see you out there in the Proving Grounds.